data is worth a lot of money. It's worth, thousands of dollars, even in the medical space when it comes to training artificial intelligence models. And that's just to one person, just from a data set. And having it private doesn't do anything, but they took that route before and kind of canned the idea of data sovereignty because they didn't want to open up the black box to the amount of wealth that was being generated amongst a select group of people that were taking or claiming ownership to this asset that wasn't rightfully theirs. So there was a lack of respect for the sovereignty. And I think it's funny that we as human beings, in a political level, try to respect countries' boundaries, but the people within our countries, we don't respect, much of their own sovereignty. So you can see where it would have been very easy for them to tread in waters, unethical waters, for using people's information without requisite consent to that information itself. And so when I hear about this idea of sovereignty, they wouldn't want to give up the economic incentive they were receiving by giving the power back to a consumer or the person who's actually generating that record. Because what that does is that changes the mechanism of data flow, where that asset value actually goes to. And also it adds a layer of friction to the corporations because they have to now request access. And I know you had mentioned GDPR. General Data Protection Regulation in the European Union, much of its housing deals with a third party managing somebody's personal data. But if you really go all the way down the tunnel to the very end, right, you stretch it to the nth degree and you give consumers 100% control over their information, that sits ahead of the regulation. Because Professor Solomon Ajar, right, or Adam Apollo, or Kurt Doty, or Tirto, they could choose to permission the data that they want at any time to the party of their choosing, and no one could stop them from doing so. But the GDPR inhibits a company from doing that on their behalf without requisite permission. So why don't you just skip the regulation and give all the sovereignty back to people who have rightfully established that record and are the true owners of it? And that's a question.
Yeah, so it's really in the end, from my perspective, it's really a cost benefit thing. Is that if, let's say, we protect all health data and never use it without your consent, we
Yeah.
will be losing a part of our uh, population that we serve. So there's a cost benefit to it, and I'm not saying that we should all have all our data freely available, but I think it is a very judicious question what we do have available and what we don't. And going to the nth level on sovereignty can really inhibit all kinds of progress that we can make as humankind.
Do you really think that progress is inhibited, though, if you give people the power to make their own choices? So if you take sovereignty all the way to the end and you're like, look, you can share your medical data to this cancer research institute, but it's completely up to you. You could have one person could say no, but you could have a collective of 10,000 that choose to do so. And I could say that this is a proven point because this is a technology and a process Tartle does today, a company which I run. So when I hear about that and people say it's a cost benefit analysis, I think the biggest cost to anything is taking the right away from people and not keeping that right in their hands when it's dutifully theirs. And the greatest benefit is giving them that choice, because what you'll find is when you give a human being a choice and you tell them what's going to happen, more often than not, they'll actually take that choice.